Oh,
All right. So I want to welcome everybody to First Steps Financial Foundation series. Wow, that's a lot of F's. And I am your host, Elisa McCabe. I'm the owner at First Steps Financial. We are a fractional accounting firm. We come in as your accounting department. And we are bringing you this series because we know as an entrepreneur, there are so many things to learn. And we are blessed because we are on the inside of so many companies and we know all the things that entrepreneurs want to learn. So today we are talking about the Chief Everything Officer trap, how founder led businesses can scale without everything running through them. And if you are an entrepreneur, you know this. You've felt it internally. And we are so blessed to have Felicia Patrick with us today. She is someone who understands what happens when a business grows faster than the structure underneath it. Felicia Patrick is a fractional COO and founder of Virtual Gatekeepers, where she helps founder led businesses build the structure, ownership, and decision making clarity they need to grow without everything running through the owner. She began her career as an administrative assistant and worked her way into executive leadership, eventually serving as the chief operating officer of a software company. Along the way, she saw how easily businesses become dependent on one person when processes are not documented and knowledge lives in people's heads and decisions wait on the founder or an executive to move forward. I feel like she sees me. Today, Felicia helps overextended founders step out of the chief everything officer role by identifying where the business is still over relying on them and building the operational structure needed for sustainable growth. Please join me in welcoming Felicia Patrick.
hi, all. It's great to be here. Thank you.
And just one quick note, administrative note. If you have any questions at any time, toss them in the chat and we will get to them. So we're looking forward to answer any questions that you have. Felicia and I are going to talk back and forth. We're going to have questions between the two of us, but feel free if you want to, if you have a question, feel free to chime in at any time in the chat. All right. So we are going to talk today about why so many capable founders become the bottleneck in their own business. And we're going to explore what happens when too many decisions and approvals and responsibilities still flow through the owner. Sounds like a control issue, and why that pattern creates fatigue, stalled growth, and inconsistent execution. So, Felicia, this is such important work because this happens to every single business owner. It is not, no one is safe from this.
hmm
How did
hmm
you get started in this? Like, what made you realize, like, everybody needs this?
Well, it started when I was in corporate America. One of the things that I saw early in my career was just, how much operational knowledge lived in people's heads. As you said in my bio, I realized that processes weren't always documented, and so, that training depended heavily on one person knowing how things worked, and if they left abruptly, it created massive confusion and put pressure on people who were still there left to, piece everything together. And I saw this across the board in HR processes and team training and internal workflows and the day-to-day operations. So, the business could be doing really great work, yet it still left them vulnerable because too much knowledge was informal, undocumented, or dependent on one person. So, as I grew into leadership, I saw that same pattern at a higher level. And so that is what shaped the way that I look at operations today,
Mhm.
because small business owners are often carrying everything, the knowledge, the decisions, the standards, the client context, the responsibility for keeping things moving. And over time, that creates that decision fatigue. and keeps the founder trapped as the chief everything officer.
Yeah,
So,
ugly place to be too.
right,
And
right.
and I think it's interesting too because what and you're trying to get them to do a mindset shift. And
Hmm.
and we actually came into a company and people like, you know, they can't believe it, but there's companies out there that are $11 million companies and their bookkeeper or office manager leaves and the place falls apart
Hmm.
because nothing was documented. So I
Hmm.
think when you start with the chief everything officer and you get them to think it actually will flow through to all the other departments.
Right, right. Yeah. So, having that, moving them or transforming them from the chief everything officer to sitting and leading from the CEO seat is really important.
So let's define this. Like, what is the chief everything officer trap? Like, what exactly does that look like? And how do founders know that they're in it when
That's a
they're
great question, right?
when they have a nervous breakdown?
Well, hopefully it's not when it gets to that point. So, the chief everything officer trap happens when the founder is still the central point for too many decisions, approvals, fixes, and follow-ups. And
Okay.
so, on the outside, this looks like, the business may have the support it needs. They have team, vendors, systems, and clients, but behind the scenes, that founder is still the person that everyone is waiting on before things move forward.
Mm.
So one of the clearest signs is that work has technically been delegated, yet it still comes back to them for final approval, clarification, or correction. So the founder may not be doing every task anymore, yet the business still depends on their judgment and memory and the availability to keep things moving. So at first, it can feel responsible. Eventually it becomes the pattern the business learns to rely on.
And that is having that pattern that everybody understands and relies on something different. So, because I remember I was the chief everything officer, and
Hmm.
everybody came in, and you and I both read the same book where it's a manager, and the people come in and leave their monkeys in the room, and then you got a
Right,
room full of monkeys, and you can't get
right,
anything done. And I
right.
can remember when I first decided, no, I need to not be the chief everything officer, and my team kind of gave me a little pushback because
Hmm.
they wanted me to know everything. Of course, I
Hmm.
trained them to come to me too.
Right.
So that was, I was in that trap and I tried to give them tools.
Hmm.
So, so why do so many smart, capable business owners become the bottleneck even when they have a team? Why does this happen?
So it's the same instincts that help them build the business can eventually become the thing that limits it, right?
Mm,
In the early stage, being involved in everything protects the quality of the work.
right.
The founder knows the clients and the standards, the decisions. Um, but as the business grows, the founder's personal involvement can quietly become the operating system, right? So the team may be capable, yet they may not have enough clarity or authority or structure to fully own the outcomes without the founder stepping back in. So it's usually not a people problem first, it's
Mm,
really a structure problem.
mm.
And so the business did not necessarily outgrow the founder, it outgrew the way decisions and ownership were being held.
That's see, that is exactly it. It's like you can run it that way for
Hmm.
a short period of time and actually makes sense to run it that way.
Hmm.
You're developing things. Yeah, because my team gave me real pushback when they would come to me with a question and I said, Google it first. They were like,
Right.
what? And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to Google it. Like, Google it first. Tell me. And I think there is a little it's shocking to them
Hmm.
because you, as the owner, have developed a culture around them coming to you. And you
Hmm.
really actually have to change that. And it's not that you don't have a capable team, you do, and you
Hmm.
have to help them stand on their own 2 feet. And like I said, my team is amazing, and they
Hmm.
still gave me pushback. I mean, this was years ago, but
Right.
um,
Yeah. So, allow me to share a personal story. So I had to put my money where my mouth was last year, about 6 months ago. My husband passed away unexpectedly, and
oh,
I had to step away from the business. And um, training my team and implementing the things that I talk about every day with business owners, I was able to take that time and step away from the business to be able to um, deal with my grief and all the administrative things that go along with a loved one's death. So you never know what life is going to throw at you unexpectedly. It could
oh,
be, a loss of a loved one. It could be a health crisis. It could be anything. It could be anything, a
mhm.
sick child. And having having your people and your processes aligned with your performance so you can step away from the business is really key. You have to have a business that can run without you.
and and you have obviously proven that, and I am so sorry that it was put to the test for you. But
Yeah, me too.
it is you have such resilience, and you didn't have to rebuild your company after six
Right.
months. It was
Hmm.
still there running for you, and
Hmm.
that's got to be, yeah, that's incredibly amazing. It really is. It's a huge testament to the work that you do. Um, we had a client of ours who refused systems and
Hmm.
got sick, and he was in the hospital, and his wife is calling us, talking to us, and
Hmm.
we ended up being able to put in systems, and he recovered and came back, and it made him realize, and he was lucky he got a second chance at like being able to do that. There are so many people, and I'm sure you've come across people who they don't recover from
Hmm.
that. They end up being out for whatever reason, and there's really nothing to come back to.
Right.
So, what are the hidden costs? Because, like, so, we're talking about really having the business not rely on you for your people and processes so you can, like, come back to your business so that you can go away on vacation, so that
Hmm.
there's things you can do. But there's got to be hidden costs to having everything run through the founder.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the obvious one is the cost of time, right? And the deeper cost is the mental load.
Mm,
So the founder's carrying decisions all day long. They're answering questions, they're reviewing, they're giving approvals, they're, saying what the next steps are, they're making promises, they're, looking at context of things and quality control. And that creates fatigue. It also slows the execution. It trains the team to wait instead of owning it and makes growth feel heavier instead of more stable. So, one of the biggest hidden costs is that the founder loses space to lead strategically because they are still
mm,
functioning as the business's safety net. So,
yeah.
the founder becomes the place where uncertainty goes to get resolved.
Yeah, and so the owner, the founder, is still working in the business, not.
And not on the business.
So you talk about the cost of time, and I think that people don't realize that the founder, and I have said this to many business owners, you are so incredibly valuable.
Hmm.
You don't realize that by you doing this administrative work, you're actually
Hmm.
losing money, because if you go out and make more sales, or you go out and do the work that your company does and that you are the only one that can do,
Hmm.
you'll actually make more money. We had
Hmm.
we had an electrical contractor, and he learned that lesson the hard way. He was out at a job and he broke his arm. He could
Hmm.
not do invoicing. So
Hmm.
he couldn't go out and work on any job. So he couldn't go out in the field.
Hmm.
Said he made more money when he was not in the field,
Hmm.
because he was doing the work that other people couldn't do. He was doing the
Yes.
estimates. He was able to do all those things, but he couldn't physically
Hmm.
do the work. And it was a
Hmm.
huge eye opener for him. And it made a big change in his business. And
Hmm.
he he sold his business last year for tons of money. So,
Nice,
yes.
nice. Yeah,
So,
so when you finally realize that you should only be working on the things that you can do, again, that performance increases,
yeah.
and it's a beautiful thing to see when the light bulb goes off and
Oh,
the
it is.
owners. Mhm.
It's so amazing. The other side to this too, that the other hidden cost that I have also seen is um, your team. What ends up happening if you do everything? And we're not saying that founders can't do everything. They can. There's no two
Right.
ways about it. You can definitely answer the phone and do sales and provide you can do everything.
Hmm.
You can, but should you? And that's
Right.
what we're trying to get at. And
Hmm.
another problem that I see happen all the time is founders fail on promises. They
Hmm.
say, "Oh, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. I'll
Hmm.
do this," and then they don't do it.
Hmm.
And I can say, "Hi, my name is Elisa McCabe, and I am guilty of this."
I
And
can
my
be
team
guilty
can
of it as
attest to
well, you know?
it. Because if you don't delegate it,
Hmm.
and you really and there's a little guilt behind it. Do you ever see that like in the business owners you work with where they
Well,
feel
yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned delegation. So let's talk about delegation and abdication. Okay.
and what you think abdication is not like a really
Mm,
hmm,
yeah. So
what's the
let me,
difference?
that's a great question. So delegation creates ownership. Abdication creates confusion.
Mhm.
Okay. So again, with delegation, someone understands the outcome and what the standard is, what the decision boundaries are, and what they own. Abdication, that's where the founder hands something off without enough clarity and it gets frustrated when the results doesn't match what they expected.
Mhm.
So one of the patterns I see often is that founders think that they've delegated because someone else is doing the task. But if the founder is still reviewing and rescuing
Mhm.
and correcting and approving and explaining the same thing over and over and over again, then the ownership hasn't really been transferred, right?
Mm,
So
true.
delegation is not just about getting something off your plate. It's making sure that the right person understands what they own, what good looks like, when to make a decision, and
Yeah.
when to escalate it, right? Abdication is when we hand something off and assume the other person has all the context that they need. And so then when it doesn't go well, the founder often thinks, see, I knew I should have done it myself, right? But the real issue may not be, the real issue may be that the structure was never clear enough for the person to succeed, right?
Right. And you don't know. You don't know if it's actually wrong person, wrong seat that you gave the job to, or
Right.
you didn't give. So and I think people do this all the time, unspoken expectations. You hand
Yes.
somebody something and you expect them to do X with it and they don't.
Hmm.
And you're
Right.
shocked, but you never actually said that. So,
Right, right. So let me connect this to the chief everything officer trap here. So when the delegation is unclear, the founder stays in the middle. The
mm,
team may be doing the work, yet the founder is still carrying that invincible responsibility, right?
yeah.
They're still answering the questions and they're making those final calls and trying to keep things running smoothly and holding the standard in their own head. You just said it.
Mm.
And that is why a founder can, can have help and still feel like everything runs through them. So, some quick like diagnostic questions that you can ask is, have I clearly defined the outcome, or did I only assign the task?
That's
Does
really
does the person know what good looks like?
mm.
Do they know what decisions they can make without me? Do they know when to escalate it and when not to? And am I still acting as the final checkpoint because I have not transferred real ownership?
So, um, and I assume these things would live in the accountability chart. Like when you set up your
Hmm.
org chart, these are
Hmm.
things that you can put in there. So this is
Hmm.
your seat. This is what winning looks like. This is what the
Hmm.
outcome should look like. And this is the decisions that you can make on
Hmm.
your own. And these are the ones you
Hmm.
elevate. That makes it
Right.
very clear.
Yeah.
So, okay, I love that. I'm
Hmm.
writing that one
Yeah.
down.
So it's clarifying four things. It's the outcome, it's the standard, it's the decision boundary, and then the escalation point.
Nice. And we actually went through this exercise with our team because we were trying to figure out, because we knew what I was responsible for and my chief of staff, but then what's the manager's responsible for.
Hmm.
It actually happens. This happens not only with the chief everything officer, but you can replicate it all the way
Hmm.
down.
Hmm.
Like even our
Yes.
level one, our people who are just doing basic accounting work actually
Hmm.
can make decisions, but they just didn't know what decisions they could make. And so we actually gave them what they can make.
Hmm.
Oh, I love this. Okay. So so what needs to shift? I love this question. So what needs to shift for a founder to move from reacting all day long? Now, everybody out here, you must know somebody like this. I have people in my family like this. They react all day long. It's like crisis, 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 crisis. There's no,
Yeah.
it's not it's not getting into that point where they're leading with clarity and structure. Like
Right.
what needs to shift? How do you get out of the crisis mode?
Right. Well, so this is what I recommend. Stop asking only what do I need to get off my plate. Start asking what does the business need in order to move without me being the constant checkpoint.
Hmm.
So that shift usually includes the clearer ownership, the better decision boundaries, the stronger communication
Hmm.
rhythms, and a more of a intentional way of prioritizing what truly matters in your business. So again, delegation alone does not solve your problem.
Right.
It's the standards, it's the authority, it's the accountability. Those have to be crystal clear. And so the goal is, again, not to just hand off tasks. The goal
Right.
is to build that structure that allows other people to own the outcomes. And you cannot delegate your way out of unclear structure.
So you have to be really, really clear
Hmm.
before you pass any of this stuff off.
Right.
How do you
And
do that?
to how do you do that?
How do you get
You
clear?
It takes lots of practice.
You have to spend a lot of time with yourself trying
Yes,
trying to figure
yes.
out, okay.
Hmm.
Because it's hard once you get into that crisis mode. Once you get into the mode where you're just constantly reacting to things,
Hmm.
it's it's almost like a comfort. And it's the same
Hmm.
with having them ask you everything. It's kind of a comfort
Hmm.
level.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
to really move beyond that, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes, yes.
And that,
And
okay.
yeah, yeah. And looking at yourself in the mirror as a leader as
Yeah.
well, because you really do set the example in so many ways. Everybody's watching you.
Mm,
Everybody's watching you. And to be unclear is unkind. You
yeah.
have to be clear. And, as a leader, don't be afraid to go, that person didn't deliver what you asked. You shouldn't be pointing your finger at them. You
Mm,
should be evaluating yourself as a leader and looking at yourself in the mirror going, okay, what could I have done better?
mm.
And now if it's a consistent problem, that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other.
That's a whole other webinar. Um, um, however
Bring in
you
HR for that one.
right, right. But you have to go, okay, well, I didn't truly explain. I didn't truly get out of my head. I didn't set the standards.
Mm,
So, all of those things that, I mentioned, earlier, you
mm,
have to, go through that and go, all right, did I explain the outcome?
yeah.
Did I explain the decision boundary? Did I explain the standard?
Yeah, and I love that because we in my company, I sent a survey to my team about what should I keep doing? what should I stop doing, and what
Hmm.
should I start doing?
Hmm.
And that was very interesting. And the one thing they told me to stop doing was to not get involved in something that was going on with a client
Hmm.
because I was creating chaos when I would jump in the middle because I could see the conversation happening.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
I'm thinking as my job as the founder is to
Right.
dive in and say, make sure you take good care of this customer, make sure you,
Right.
provide the highest standard. And actually, I was creating chaos
Hmm.
because then
Hmm.
everybody's like, oh no, we shouldn't say this. We should, you know what I mean? So that
Hmm.
was one thing they
Hmm.
asked me to stop doing. So I got clarity around that from my team.
Yes.
But
Yes, that's why they call us a
also,
team, right? You're supposed
yeah,
to be collaborative. And that goes for the business owner or the founder too. They should be, transparent and, let the team know what's going on. And the team should you have to create that psych
like a boundary or like a,
it's a safety, psychology safety.
yes, yes, so that they feel comfortable
Yes.
saying anything. And
Yes.
actually, that was the first question on the questionnaire. Do you feel comfortable talking to me?
Hmm.
Because I think that's important too. And I think once you do, so if you can get into that chief everything officer and you follow what Felicia tells you to do, and you are able to pass all these things off, then you have to be very clear on what you're still doing and when you don't dip
Hmm.
your toes back in.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because like I did, I created chaos because,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's another thing that you come away with once you're not the chief everything officer, you have to live by set boundaries of what you
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm. Yeah, your role should be just as well defined as your team's roles and responsibilities and what their ownership is.
so interesting because I think as a founder, I didn't realize that.
Hmm.
I had a peer, a colleague of mine. She told me, she goes, "This is what the CEO is responsible for." She gave me a list. And I was like, "Oh, I kind of like this." I never thought of it as a defined
Hmm.
role. I was
Hmm.
the chief everything officer because in
Hmm.
the end, everything's on me. Like I
Hmm.
am, it's my company. I felt so much
Hmm.
responsibility, but then when I started following this about, being passing things off. And look, if you think like, so I've been doing this a long time, I absolutely abdicated. Anybody who's worked
Hmm.
with me for a long time, I was like, here, do this. You know, I
Right.
I didn't know how to do any and Felicia can show you the shortcut, not go through all the bumps and pains and things that I went
Hmm.
through to get to
Hmm.
where I am. But yes, it was incredibly eye-opening to realize that once you do pass those things off, that you have set defined things that you need to be in charge of, and you need
Hmm.
to be really good at them. And it's not to say that you can't still pass things off and
Hmm.
that you can really take a step back. I'm going away for 2 weeks,
Hmm.
and my company's going to run without me,
Hmm.
and I'm
Hmm.
very excited. So, um, Felicia, you have some tips that you want to share with us about what people should be doing and thinking about.
Yeah, so I have three tips for you. Okay. Um, and they're just simple places to look. And so these aren't meant to solve the whole issue in one sitting, but they will help you see where the business may still be depending on you personally. So the
Okay.
first tip is to track what keeps coming back to you. So
Okay.
for 1 week, pay attention to every decision, every approval, every clarification or quick question that lands back on your desk. Okay. And if the same kinds of questions keep coming back to you, that's usually not a team problem first. It is a
Okay.
clarity problem. Something is missing in the structure and the decision boundary or the ownership. So, what keeps coming back to you repeatedly is usually showing you where structure is missing.
Okay.
All right. Tip two is to separate tasks from ownership. So a lot of founders think that they've delegated because someone else is doing the task. Yet, if the founder still again has to review, remind, approve, correct, and decide what happens, that ownership again has not fully transferred. So delegation is not handing the task off. The real delegation means the right person knows exactly what they own, what the standards look like, when to escalate that, and the decisions that they are trusted to make. And a
Mhm.
task can be assigned and still not be truly owned.
Okay.
Okay. And then the last tip is to identify your repeat decision points. Um, so most founder bottlenecks, they're not random. They usually show up in the same places over and over again. Where else is this showing up in your life?
Ah,
Um, it's the client approval, it's the pricing questions, it's team decisions, project priorities, the quality controls, final
mhm.
reviews. So when the same decision keeps coming back to you, it is often a sign that the business needs some type of guideline or standard or a decision rule. So the goal is not to remove yourself from every decision. The
Right.
goal is to stop being required for the same decision over and over and over again.
Mm,
So once you see where the business keeps depending on you, you can start identifying whether the issue is people, process, ownership, communication, the decision making structure. That's really where the deeper work begins.
okay. So is there something like somebody, so we have lots of business owners on this webinar. Like what's the first step to building a business that doesn't depend on you for every decision?
What is the first step?
Yeah.
Um, For me, it's a strategy session. It's
Okay.
really getting into um, getting a look under the hood of your business, and looking at being able to slow down and
Hmm.
look at your business clearly. Because when you're in the inside day to day,
Hmm.
it's hard to tell whether a problem is people, process, priorities. And a lot of founders know that it's not working, but they're not
Hmm.
always sure about what needs to change first.
Hmm.
So, sometimes they think they may need to hire, they may need to delegate more, or change tools, or get more organized. Um, and sometimes those things are part of the answer, but the real issue is not that the business does not have enough structure underneath the growth. And so that's why we look at a strategy session to identify where the business is still over relying on the founder, and where decisions keep getting stuck, and where ownership is unclear, and what
Hmm.
needs to be prioritized next.
So, and also, you probably also are looking at where do they want to go with their firm because that
Absolutely.
that will make a
Absolutely.
difference too. Like if
Yeah.
so, and this is even more valuable than, about the money that you're losing by doing the work yourself and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. When you go to sell your company, if you decide to sell your company and your company relies on you, the
Hmm.
value actually
Hmm.
decreases.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
actually, and if you are the owner of a company and you do all the work and you hold all the relationships,
Hmm.
you actually are not doing yourself a great service because there is businesses are worth so much more when the owner doesn't have to be involved. So
Right.
it completely changes. We have a webinar coming up, part of the series in September. Michelle Parisi from Founders Capital Network is going to come talk to us about how to get ready for the sale
Hmm.
of a company. And this is one of the things that she is going
Hmm.
to mention is that
Hmm.
if the founder does all the sales, if the
Hmm.
founder does has to approve all the work,
Hmm.
what's
Hmm.
going to happen when you go to sell that company? It's not going to have they're going to have to bring someone in, and so someone who's going to they may have to keep the founder on for a certain amount of time. How
Hmm.
many of their clients will stay on after the founder leaves because they're so imprinted on the founder? And there's so many there's so many gems in all the stuff you're saying that it's crazy. I have a, let's see. Just see if there's another question here. Um, so let's see. Just trying to pick one. Um, can you give an example of a situation where they that the everything was residing in a client and then and then it changed, and how did it change everybody? Like, did it change just them or everybody or the business, or were they more profitable, less profitable? How did it work out?
Um, so okay, that was a big question.
I'm sorry. Let me make it smaller because I'm all over the place here. You're not alone. Um, do you have what results have you seen from someone doing this? From someone deciding that they are building this structure, that they're stepping themselves out. What are the results that people see?
So, okay, so let me just give you an example here. A founder had delegated a client onboarding to a team member, and so, again, that task on paper had been handed off, but in reality, the ownership really hadn't been fully transferred, and so, you know, with the team member coming back to the founder all the time,
Mm,
the founder was frustrated, and so we've already established that the issue is not always with the team member. And, once we were able to name the pattern, again, that
mm,
fix became much clearer. And so then that work of, say, for instance, delegating client onboarding, it just wasn't a simple delegated onboarding.
mm,
Um, and so then that became successful onboarding experience, which grows the confidence in the team member.
mhm,
So again, people plus process equals performance. You get
mm,
your people in the right seats with the clear ownership of what they are doing and the processes that looks like, then the performance. So in corporate, I did this in corporate. I invested in my team. I was able to be very clear in the vision of the company and where we were going. I made sure that we had processes in place so people could take vacations, or if
yeah.
something critical happened in their lives, that they could do that. And in that investment of people and processes in 12 months, our revenue grew by 20%.
Wow. So there's actual money to be made if we
Yes,
implement the system, is what you're saying. So
yes,
I like your people process equals
and
performance.
performance.
I want to say
Mhm.
people process equals profit. That's what
That too. Profit is under performance.
it's so there is so much good that comes from this. The other thing that I have seen when this gets implemented is that the team feels empowered
Yes,
and they they become their best selves because
right.
they can, because like you said, they know when they're winning, they know what good looks
Yes,
like, they know what done looks
yes,
like,
yes,
and then that flows into the clients
right. I
because
had, I'm sorry, go ahead.
just because the team feels so good that they're doing great, and that shows up in how they treat their clients and
Yes,
how, like you were saying, in onboarding, like
right, right.
you do a phenomenal onboarding, the
Hmm.
clients are going to be like, this company's amazing.
Right, right. And so I had a client who she had all of her team roles defined and thought that she had everything that she needed, but she had missed the ownership piece, and she had
Ah,
missed the collaboration piece and the empowerment piece in her team. And so I worked with her team and built this, was able to establish team culture in her company. And what I realized early on in meeting with her team was everybody was very siloed. Everybody knew what their responsibility was, but they had no idea how it affected other people. So I
Hmm.
give for a metaphor, imagine 10 lanes of traffic in Atlanta. Everybody has their lane, right?
Yeah.
So you don't swerve over into somebody's lane without looking. Well,
Right.
that was happening on this team because
Um,
they didn't know that if they did this, it would affect this lane.
Interesting.
So when they had visibility over and being a collaborative team, then they were able to go, oh, that is so and so's lane. I have to put my blinker on. I need to talk to her. I need to, you know, uh, see how this is going to affect. So having that system built, that, you know, increased client retention and happiness and experience and all of those things.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's such an interesting point because and this happens on remote teams too. So my team is
Hmm.
100% remote. Having that communication, knowing that like what everyone else is doing and how it affects other people is really important. Um, all right. Let's see if there's any questions here that so do you have so someone asked a question that says you suggest founders should track what keeps coming back to them.
Hmm.
Do you have a way to track this information without creating a new time-consuming task? Or is it you just gotta put the work in? Like, what do you have any tips on
Okay,
like how
so
to do
let's
this?
just be really simple with this. Keep it simple.
Okay.
Just track it on a piece of paper or on a document in your notes. What it's just for a week. I'm not asking you to do it for an entire year, just for a week. You will see patterns of what is continuing to keep coming back to you. You'll also see where your where that mental load and the drain, your energy drain is coming from.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that
it's just something really simple. Don't don't
doesn't
don't create an elaborate spreadsheet for 30 days. Just do it for 5 days, Monday through Friday.
okay. That doesn't sound too terrible. Sounds like it's doable. It's small bites. Um, okay, so if today's conversation felt familiar and you're realizing too much still runs through you, your next best step is to book a complimentary call with Felicia. I'm going to put her information in the chat. If anyone would like to reach out to her, you can contact her this way. Anybody who's not attending live, we are actually going to send out a recording. Actually, everybody gets the recording, even if you're here. And Felicia's information will be in there. And all right, Felicia, I feel a little better. Um, I feel confident in my decision not to have everything run through me. Um,
Yes.
and and again, this works not only with founders, but on the next level down. When you have a
Yes.
manager, when you have somebody that, teaching them how to be good leaders is part of
Hmm.
being a good leader.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and being here. Thank you so much, Felicia.
Thank you. Thank you. This was a fun conversation.
And I just want to remind everybody we are here on June 18th, and we are going to be talking about when your team is not doing what you tell them to do, and it may not be just because they don't understand. It's more than just understanding the task. Um, and we're going to be with Andrew Lampa, and he is a business coach that helps companies empower their teams. And he's going to be focused on that. So join us then, and we will see everybody June 18th. Good seeing you, Felicia. Take care,
Right. Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.